Hello, welcome back to a new video, Laurel and Hardy memorabilia and Chaplin collectibles. In this video I'm going to go through my favourite Laurel and Hardy books in my collection and a few more Charlie Chaplin figures that I'd like to talk about, and another book on Charlie Chaplin and some dolls and Laurel and Hardy figures. So just a little bit of a mixture, but starting off with the books, my most favourite books in my collection. So starting off with this one is The Magic Behind the Movies by Randy Scrivet, which is an amazing book. I have showed this book, this very first edition, 1987, in a previous video a while back, and this is the copy that was signed to my family from the museum in Ulverston by Bill Cubbin at the time in '89, and of course, being that much younger then, I would just look at all the pictures in the book and just be totally fascinated by the whole history of Laurel and Hardy. And then eventually, when I was a little bit older, I was able to read the whole book, which I absolutely love to this day. And there's so much information in this book regarding the history of every single film, from the date of production to release date, from directors and screenwriters and cinematographers. There's so much detail, and also from the early life to the very later lives of both Laurel and Hardy. And then a little bit later I was able to get the Ultimate Edition, which I haven't actually got around to reading yet, which has got extra material in this book. But this is, to me, this is like the Bible of Laurel and Hardy. There's so much information in one huge volume, and with Randy's work gone into this, it just shows the love that he has for both Laurel and Hardy. And then an earlier book, which is also one of my other favourites, which is Mr. Laurel and Mr. Hardy, which is another early edition by John McCabe, which is 1961, the first edition of this book. And then also he did The Comedy World of Stan Laurel, and then Babe, the Life of Oliver Hardy, and another great insight into the history and the lives of Laurel and Hardy, which is another favourite of mine. And also a little bit of history of John McCabe. He was the first to establish the International Laurel and Hardy Society of the Sons of the Desert in 1964. So it's a really important bit of Sons of the Desert club history there. And then and also because Stan Laurel, he would have known about the club taking off just not long before he died, and Stan suggested that members might wear a fez and a blazer patch as well. So it was quite interesting to know at the times what that he wanted for the fan club. And then a little bit on from that, you have this Laurel and Hardy book, which is the British Tours by A.J. Marriott, which is an amazing book on the sort of post-war days and tours of Laurel and Hardy, which is also based on the Stan and Ollie film. But absolutely fantastic book, and the work and dedication that AJ has put into this is absolutely amazing. And also he's done the other books, Chaplin Stage by Stage and Laurel Stage by Stage, in the European tours and the US tours. And this still is a favourite of mine, as one of the first books that I read on the tours of Laurel and Hardy. And also this has been signed inside by AJ back in 2000. So if you're watching this, AJ, thank you very much. And then just on from that, I'm actually still in the process of reading this book, which is my autobiography, Charlie Chaplin. And this is an older book, and this is 1964, and it's just fascinating. And it's also based on the Chaplin film, the 1992 Chaplin film with Robert Downey Jr. So it's just fascinating, his early life and upbringing into poverty, and being extremely poor with his mother Hannah Chaplin, and then Charles Chaplin and his father being an alcoholic, and then living with another woman, and then sadly with Charlie and his brother, half brother Sidney, and his mother having to go to the workhouse, and then his mother eventually being sent to an insane asylum. It's a really tragic part of Charlie Chaplin's life, but he really does speak about it in great detail, and very different upbringing to Stan Laurel or Oliver Hardy's childhood, and also the brutality in the early days of Charlie's life, especially in the workhouse, is actually very shocking and really depressing. And it also shows through in his films, especially I find in The Kid, which he sort of recreates sets like the back streets of London, makes it very sort of dim and depressing, but also he mixes tragedy with comedy, which is really, really clever and an absolute genius. And then just on from that, you've got the figures. Yeah, and also all the books I have. That was just a select few. I have I think probably around about 89 or over 90 books just on Laurel and Hardy now. So it's very hard to choose which are the best Laurel and Hardy books or the best Charlie Chaplin books. But those are the select few that I like the most, probably because it brings back the earliest memories for me. So with the figures, I just wanted to show this Charlie Chaplin figure, which is a really great figure of Charlie Chaplin, a laying down position. Very simple figure, but made of like a pot. And this was actually bought on a holiday in Greece in a gift shop. So it was a really nice find, and one of the first and earliest figures that I had back then. And then there's this one which I absolutely love, which is the Kellogg's figure from 1989. Absolutely amazing little figure. And I remember back then my mum actually got this figure for me from the Kellogg's cereal packet. And I think at the time, what I remember, there were other stars of John Wayne and a few others, but this was the one that really made my day and made me very happy pretty much for the rest of the day, having this figure. And it takes pride in my showcase. And then there's this one which I really, really like, which is an unusual one of Charlie Chaplin, which I think this is Spain, 1960s, this figure. So this is an older figure, and his cane and legs move, and he's got wheels at the bottom of his suitcase there. So he's still got the original key, if I can get that in there, and then you just turn the key like that, and then just let him go. So there you go. Nice bit of fun for kids back in the time in the 60s, or even for grown-ups, but a really nice piece of memorabilia on Charlie Chaplin, and a really, really nice vintage toy. And then I got these dolls on Laurel and Hardy, which were from Greece. These are really nice Laurel and Hardy dolls that came from Greece, and again they were bought in a gift shop, I think in Catalonia in the early 90s, and I spotted them right away and really pushed my mum and dad to buy them for me. We only just got them in the suitcase, I remember very much at the time, so we only just squeezed them in to get them home, but they were the first in the doll collection, so I absolutely love these. And then just on from that, going back to Charlie Chaplin, I have this figure, which I think I have showed in an earlier video, but again, to go through it again a bit more detail. So this is one of the Peter Mook figures, and also there's a few on Laurel and Hardy that I have that are made by the same sculpture, but this is one of my favourites in the entire collection, and really, really nice, and the likeness is actually really good of Charlie Chaplin, and that's just his stance all over. But I actually bought this back in probably 94, 95 in Eastbourne when I used to stay with my grandparents, and they used to love me staying with them back in Eastbourne back in the early 90s, and they were very passionate about my collections and what I was into even then, and always encouraged me to buy things if I saw it. Especially my granddad, he always used to say, if you like it, then buy it. We'll go in the shop and get it together, and we'll pick it up. And we did, and I remember being with them when I bought this, and it really made my summer holidays, especially when I was like in between school, so like school holidays. And sadly, my grandparents, they both died last year. So this is my granddad and my grandma, and so he died 26th of October of last year, and my grandma, she died 16th of November last year. So the 26th of October and 16th of November, it was almost just over 2 weeks apart of each other that they both passed away. And just nice pictures of them both at the back there, and you can see that they were inseparable, and they really, really loved each other. And it brings back some really, really wonderful memories of when I used to stay with them and spend time with them, and they really enjoyed me, almost enjoyed what I did collecting on Laurel and Hardy, and they were always fascinated and interested in what I was going to buy next. And also around the same time is the figure just behind me here of Laurel and Hardy, which is a takeoff of Jordan Tooten, which is the famous 1928 film of Laurel and Hardy, where they were street musicians, and they end up in a fight at the end with the public, with trouser ripping and shin kicking, which were actually a very, very funny film. But these are the tallest figures that I've got in the collection. Probably not the biggest, but they are certainly the tallest. And I remember at the time with my grandparents in Eastbourne, we saw them in the shop, and again they encouraged me to buy them, and I had to get them inside the oversized box that it came in, which obviously it didn't fit, and we decided to get a trolley from the car park and put it in the trolley and walk it out to the car that way. And there were a few head turners, I do remember very much, and it still brings a lot of happy and joyful memories to this day. So when I look at those Laurel and Hardy figures, and also the Charlie Chaplin figure that I have, I always remember my grandparents very much, and it was sad to see them go last year, but also with the great memories, spending holidays with them, it was an absolute joy at the same time. And these are a very treasured part of the Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin collection. So there it is for this video. That's my little introduction to just random Laurel and Hardy books that I absolutely adore and love, and a few more Charlie Chaplin figures and Laurel and Hardy figures. So I hope everyone is keeping well, and slowly but surely that we're all getting back to work with all this bad news that's been going on over the last few months, and get back to some sort of mortality. And stay safe everyone, and happy collecting. Bye.